So starting a little bit early, just to let people trickle through. Please let me know, thumbs up, comment, whatever, if you can hear me okay. If you're listening to this at a later date, skip ahead a little bit, as we're just going to go through a little bit of a pause so people can actually get in to this workout. While we're waiting, I'm just going to read the disclaimer here. So, if this will work, come on, there we go. So, in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members by using social media platforms. The virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, physical fitness level are unknown, and it is entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active Questionnaire of the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, also known as CSEP, and its reference documents, which are in the link below. If you experience any pain or difficulty during exercises presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult your healthcare provider. If any CAF members sustained an injury during this video, please remember to fill out the CF98. Today is mobility and range of motion, so nothing should be too strenuous for guys. If anything, it should help you guys out. So we are going to need a couple things. You're going to need a pillow or something to support your head, as we will be doing some internal rotation stuff for your shoulders. A towel or a strap or something that you can hold onto. If you have an exercise band, that'll work as well. And if you have a lacrosse ball, a baseball, a softball, anything like that, go ahead and grab that as well. If you don't have one, that's perfectly fine. The majority of today will be done without it, but we are going to throw a couple things in at the end, just as a little extra for you guys to get through some things. So we're just going to wait another 30 seconds or so before we start. We'll give you guys time to grab all that stuff, grab your water, and we'll go from there. So like I said, it will be a range of motion. Gonna do some big movements at the beginning, just to get those areas that are commonly affected out of the way. So example, your thoracic spine, your hips, and your shoulders will be the big ones, and then we're gonna go feet to head without the lacrosse ball, and then we're going to get in some trigger points with the lacrosse ball that may help you a little bit throughout. With that being said, we're going to get started. So, first one here is we're just going to do a little bit of a test to see where we're at now compared to where we're at the beginning. So the first one is going to be a shoulder. So, you're going to take one arm. I'm going to go right arm over, left arm under. See if you can touch your fists together or grab your hands. Whichever one. If you can't, that's okay. The pass for this is a hand length between or less. Hello everybody in the comments, thank you for coming. So try that on both sides. One side is typically less mobile than the other. So for example, if you go this side, it's a little bit harder for me to grab my hand. Still not too bad. Usually it's your non-dominant shoulder going up. So we'll retest that at the end here. Second test is to see if your sciatic nerve is a little bit pinched, or we have a little bit of a hip impingement, anything like that. So you're just going to start feet underneath your hips, feet flat. Whenever you're ready, you're just going to push your hips back, sink towards the floor. Now the thing here I want you guys to look for is if you feel a pull in your calves. If you do, we got a little bit of a hip issue, nothing major, hopefully. Just a little bit of pinching, probably piriformis or glute med, simply because the only way to stretch your calves properly is dorsiflexion, so pulling your toes towards your shin, and in that position we are not. So it's most likely a sciatic nerve issue as it runs down and innervates the lower leg. So we're going to get into that stuff now. First thing we're going to do is 3 thoracic spine mobility drills, so getting that upper back to move properly so your neck and your lower back doesn't have to compensate for it. So we're just going to do a normal one here. We're going to do cat-cow. So knees underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. You're going to roll your spine up as far as you can go, and then back down into the opposite curve. So we're going to do 10 of those. Breathe in as we go up. Breathe out as we come down. Go at your own pace. Try to keep attention on your breaths here, especially since we'll be going through some movements where you will have the tendency to hold your breath. We definitely don't want that. Throughout this entire thing, we are just going to the point of discomfort. You shouldn't be in agonizing pain or anything like that. Use your own discretion, obviously. A couple more here. Good, so I'll give you a sec to finish. Next one we're going to do here is one of my personal favorites. We're going to do book openers. So we're going to change my mat here. So you're going to lay down on your side. Feet 90 degrees at the back of your knees as well as your hips. Shoulder pulled underneath you. Your head can rest wherever, or you can put a pillow underneath your head to keep that little bit of support. You're going to start your hands together, keeping your hips nice and square. Big thing here is pushing that knee into the bottom knee. That knee should not come up at all, because if it does, you're just going to be compensating. Hands together. You're going to open up as far as you can, and you're going to take 3 deep breaths. If you're looking for time, you're going about 10 seconds. Each breath, you should feel yourself go a little bit deeper. Once you're done your 3 breaths, you're going to come down, you're going to reset, and we're going to repeat that 2 more times for a total of 3 reps. Remember pushing that top knee into that bottom knee. One more reset. As you come up, your head should be able to hit the floor. The last one, close. Once you're done, simply roll to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing. So once again, 90 degrees in the legs, 90 degrees in the hips, shoulder pulled underneath. Start nice and square. Open up. 3 nice deep breaths. Close, pause for about 3 seconds, and then open again. This one's nice and relaxing. There's not too many moving parts to it. We got one more. So once again, pause for about 3 seconds. And last one. And close. Good. So we got one more of these. So the next one's called the world's greatest stretch. So not only is it getting your thoracic spine, so your upper mid back, it is also getting your hips, 1 in extension, 1 in flexion. Okay, so 1 bent, 1 straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a nice deep lunge position. Remember to set those arches in your feet. So trying to pull those toes back between your heels, making a tripod with those knuckles. Back hip is getting as straight as you possibly can, pushing that knee out wide. We're going to hang out here for a second. Adjust as needed. From there, whatever knee's forward, you're going to bring that hand behind your head. You're going to tuck down, and then you're going to tuck up. And we're going to repeat this nice and slow for 10 reps per side. Breathing out as you rotate upwards. Just nice, slow and controlled. Couple left here. Whenever you're done, just take that step back and switch legs. A nice deep lunge, push that front leg out wide, and repeat. So hand behind the head, tuck down, tuck up. Feel some pinching in your hips, that's normal. We'll be getting into that area quite a bit today. I think that was 10. So, the next one here, we're going to get in your shoulders. So we're going to do an internal rotation drill for your shoulders. This one you will need a little bit of head support. So if you have a towel or a pillow or anything like that, please go ahead and grab it. I'm going to use this. So, with this one, it is very important that you are not forcing your arm down, okay? When we cross our arm over, we are just allowing the weight of our hand and gravity to pull that arm down. We are not forcing it, okay? If you're forcing your arm down, there's a greater chance for injury here. So, you're gonna go right on your side. I'm gonna roll this up. Shoulder right underneath you. Legs comfortable position, arm bent. So your elbow is right in front of your arm. So, this is external rotation. Most people are good here. Internal rotation is the other way. Most people are really bad here. So, with that rotation inward, keeping that shoulder pinned and down, you're going to bring your opposite hand to the top, not pushing down, okay? You're just allowing the weight of that hand to gradually force your hand down, okay? Letting gravity act on it. You should feel a stretch on the back side of your shoulder, and we're just going to hang out here for a little bit, okay? This will help loosen up your shoulders, allow them to sit in the socket a little bit better, give you a little bit better posture when we sit up. You will feel a difference in your shoulders as soon as we let this go. Nice deep breaths. Just gradually letting that hand come towards the ground. Typically holding for 30 seconds at least, but you can go upwards of 2 minutes if you really want to. We're going to go right in the middle for about a minute or so. I don't have a stopwatch, so we're going to guess it. Well, I do, I just can't reach it. Few more seconds here. Let that upper arm go. Slowly rotate that arm back, and then come up. Okay? One shoulder should feel significantly looser than the other. As you can see, my shoulder typically drops lower than my other one when I do this. You may have something similar. That is normal. Okay? Get the stopwatch for this one. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So, same setup. Something for a head support. Arm pinned to the floor, right in underneath your shoulder. Elbow right in front of your shoulder. And you're just going to rotate in. Okay? Just gradually letting
that hand sink towards the floor. You're not forcing it. Nice deep breaths. Once again, like most joints, one side is typically tighter than the other. That's perfectly fine. You may feel a little bit more of a sensation on the back. Might just be a little bound up. And that's what this is for. If you want a more in-depth look at this, Squat University on YouTube did a video on it. Dr. Aaron Horsey goes pretty in-depth with all of his videos. So you go check him out. Got about 20 seconds left here. Gradually letting it sink. Five seconds. And let that hand go. Slowly unwind. And then sit up. Shake it out. Shoulders should feel quite a bit looser now. You can just set that pellet to the side. So the next one, we're going to start from the bottom up. So we're going to go from your feet to your head. There will be a little bit of time after this. I'll let you go wash your hands because we are going to be touching your feet. So we're going to go from there. So you're just going to sit down on your butt. You're going to take your hand and you're going to put it between your toes. So we're going to work at the toe, then up to the ankle, knee, hip, so on and so forth. So going in between your toes with your fingers. You have difficulty with this. That's normal. Just as our toes are not used to being as spread out as they should be. So because of socks, shoes, especially if you wear dress shoes or anything like that, they come to a point at the top instead of flaring out. So we're just going to sit here for a couple seconds. Move your hand around a little bit. Just to feel that sensation. Whenever you feel ready, we're going to do 10 circles with our wrist here rotating the toes clockwise, and then we're going to do 10 counterclockwise. Okay? Just trying to loosen up all bound up tissue on the bottom of our feet, so that fascia. So really don't take care of our feet as much as we should. Once you're done at 10 clockwise, you're going to go counterclockwise. We are going to get into the big toe here in a second. Really help those arches in your feet. Not having to go anywhere and be able to be barefoot all the time has definitely been one of my favorite things about this whole isolation thing. So whenever you're done there, we're just going to pull our toes back. You may feel a little bit of a stretch at the bottom of your foot. That's perfectly fine. Just kind of play around with that range, and then you're going to pull it down again. So one extreme to the next. Whenever you're ready, we're going to come back to neutral. Pause for a few seconds, and then you can let go. Pop those fingers out. Wiggle the toes around. And then we're going to go to the other side, do the exact same thing. So fingers between toes. Sometimes you really got to jam them there. Pause for a few seconds, let them flare out a little bit. And try squeezing your hand with your toes a couple times. Get those muscles activated. And whenever you're ready, we're going to go 10 clockwise, 10 counterclockwise. It's nice and steady. Whenever you're done at 10, just switch directions. Once you're done at 10 here, go ahead and play around with the range a little bit. Once again, pushing up. And pulling down. And whenever you're ready, take those fingers out. kind of shake out your toes. So that's one you can do pretty much every day. It's up to you because we should have the ability to do this with our feet, but most of us don't. Get in there and see space. So, next one we're going to get into our big toes. So we're just going to come up onto our toes. Big focus here is keeping that big toe into the ground. And then you're just going to lean forward and drive those toes into the floor. You feel a nice stretch right at the bottom. And we're just going to hang out here for about 30 seconds before we get into the ankle. Rock side to side if you need to. Play around with that range a little bit. May feel a pull back of your ankle, Achilles tendon area, that's normal. And whenever you're ready, we're just going to roll back into a nice, deep, close squat. And we're going to spend 30 seconds here. So at the end of today, we're actually going to do a little bit of squat test. We're going to sit here for 2 minutes. Ultimate goal 10 minutes. Might have heard me said that a couple other videos. Spend some time in this position. If you need to, you can widen your feet to facilitate this a little bit better. It's completely up to you and your mobility. That's the 30 seconds. So we're going to drop to one knee. Front foot is going to be flat, okay? Big thing here is keeping that arch engaged, so forcing those toes and knuckles in, pulling the back towards your heel to set that arch. Whenever you're ready, you're going to push that knee over top of your toes. So I'm going to rotate a little bit so you can see. Keeping that arch the best you can, you're going to push that knee over, bring that elbow to the top for a little extra torque. 30 seconds. Feel a nice pull back here. If you want another rendition of this, you can do this banded as well. So have a thin band, top part of your ankle, pulling backwards, walking forward. Whenever you're ready, slowly unwind, bring it back, switch to the other side, and do the exact same thing. So set those arches, push that knee over top of the toe. 30 seconds. After this, we're going to get into the hamstring a little bit. By a little bit, I mean quite a bit. Good. So we're just going to come down. So, it starts the hamstrings 2 different ways, one with the ankle flexed, one with the ankle extended. So if you have an elevated surface, go ahead and use it. It's completely up to you. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to stand. So 1 foot forward, you're going to take a nice step back, pointing that toe away from you. From there, you're going to drive that hip back and sink. So pointing that toe away from you takes the calf out of the equation. So we get strictly into the hamstrings and sink. If you have an elevated surface, you're just going to put your heel up on whatever you're using, your couch, a box, whatever. Point your toe away, push that hip back, and sink. Feel a stretch right in the back of the hamstring. So that back foot is going to rotate out a little bit, and we're going to come forward, getting in to the medial hamstring a little bit, so the forgotten muscle for lower back pain. And you're just going to sink. If you really want to, get nice and low. You can even sink kind of like a Cossack squat if you really want to. Even though I'm on my toes. And then slowly come back up, stand, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So once again, nice big step. Have that toe pointed away from you. Hip square, push that hip back towards the wall, and sink down. Nice stretch right behind the leg. If you need a little bit of help, grab a chair or something like that for balance. A few seconds here. Then we're going to rotate inward a little bit. Adjust that back foot. Get a little bit of the inside of that hamstring. Once again, you can drop low. If you'd like to, that's completely up to you, or you can stay a little bit higher. If you're using that elevated surface, just rotate in and then hinge to the side to get a little bit more of that motion. And then slowly come up, and we're going to stand. So, that's the one with our leg or our ankle straight. Now we're going to do it flex. So, I have a band. If you have a towel, a blanket, you can use your shirt. Whatever you need to, go ahead and grab that now. So, what we're going to do is we're going to lie down. We're going to take our band, our strap, our towel, our shirt, whatever we're using, hooked around the bottom of our foot, basically just beneath the knuckles. And then we're going to lie straight back. Try to keep that leg straight, and we're just going to pull it back. Okay? We're just going to hang out here. Adjust your hands as needed. If you want a little extra pull, change the angle in your torso, pull yourself up. It's up to you. Hang out about 30 seconds. Should feel a little bit more pull in your calves as we are actively trying to pull top part of our ankle towards our shin. Deep breaths. A couple more seconds. Slowly let that leg go. You can use that momentum to help pull yourself up again. Switch sides. So same thing. Change my hand position here. Roll back. Pull back. So once again, most likely feeling a little bit more pull in the calf, especially if that beginning test, reaching for your toes, you feel it in your calves. You will definitely feel this. We'll be helping that out here in a second after we get our quads. If you want a little bit deeper of a stretch, change that angle. A few more seconds. And bring it down. Keep that strap close, as we will be using this later for our shoulders. So now we're going to get into our quads a little bit. So we're going to do our classic quad stretch here with a little bit of difference just for our pelvis before we get into our hero pose. So we're going to come here. You're going to push your hips back. Basically going to scoop your hips under, so rotating your butt under before extending, okay, before pushing that hip forward. Keep that hip nice and tight. We're going to hang out here for a few seconds. If you want, you can kind of lean forward, get that little bit more extension in the hip, as we did in the world's greatest stretch earlier. If you are comfortable doing so, you're going to grab that back foot and drive that hip forward, okay? If you're not comfortable, just bring your hands to the floor and come into that starting position that we did at the world's greatest stretch at the beginning, and just push that hip forward, okay? Kind of a different rendition on couch stretch, especially if you don't have an elevated surface. Hanging out here. Find wherever's comfortable for your knee, especially if you don't have padding underneath. It's maybe a little bit sore. Slowly let that foot down. Come back up, and we're going to switch sides. So, same idea here. Balance, push those hips back, scoop that hip underneath, straighten up. So extending through quad and the hip, pull that hip underneath. A little bit of time here if you want, like I said, come forward, Whenever you are ready, grab that back foot, push the legs forward. A little bounce. How far you pull that foot up is completely up to you, your comfort level, your mobility. Got 10 seconds left here. 5. Slowly let it down. Come back up. So, next one we're going to go into hero pose or hurdler stretch if you can't get into the double knee version of this. So I'll show you both. I'm going to take this forward. So, we're going to start on our butts. You're going to bring one foot back, drop down. So this is hurdler stretch. Okay, if you can, bring it all the way to the floor. Keep that knee as close to the floor as possible. Feel that in your hip. Okay, if you want a little bit deeper, you go into that hero pose. So you're going to come both legs up and then do the same thing leaning back. Okay, hang out here, or you can go all the way to the floor. 30-second holds. Breathe, you should feel it throughout the quads, your hips. If you're doing the double leg version, you may feel a little bit in your back. Make sure you breathe, support yourself best you can. Few more seconds here. And however you can get back up, that's completely up to you. There's no graceful way to do it. You have to roll to the side, go ahead. So that's it for that one. Next up, we're going to go into the hip a little bit. So we're going to loosen that up slightly. So we are going to do a pigeon stretch or modified pigeon stretch, depending, like I said, if you have an elevated surface. I am going to use an elevated surface for this because I enjoy tall pigeon more. So I'm going to use this cooler. That also has a kettlebell in it, so it stays put. So, regular pigeon stretch. You're just going to come down, pull that knee underneath you, and then sit back in the hip or drop to the floor. Okay? If you're using tall pigeon, you're just going to have your box here. You're going to come up. Same idea. Just now you have a little bit more room to drop. Okay? You can use your couch. You can use a chair. You can use whatever you need to. You can use a cooler. Step on your stairs. Whatever you need to do. We're going to hang out here for 30 seconds before we get into the piriformis. We are going to get a little bit in the psoas after this. The modified scorpion. Just breathe. Try to drop that hip back. Come as deep as you can. Try to get about 90 degrees in that foot and knee. Good. Slowly come up. And we're going to switch legs. The same idea. Bring that foot up. Try to get 90 degrees the best you can. And sit. Nice deep breaths. Play around with where you're putting your focus on rotating through, maybe away, maybe a little bit more towards your knee. Figure out where you feel the best stretch, and then hang out in that position. Five seconds. And relax. So obviously you can spend more time there, upwards minute plus, that's up to you. For the sake of this class, we're going to keep on going. So, next one is piriformis stretch. If you felt your calves pull at the beginning, you're definitely going to feel this one, okay? Most people's piriformis is pretty tight because we're not used to getting in that area at all. So, after this, I will show you the lacrosse ball version of it, just for those people that do have it. and let the other people relax a little bit. So, we're gonna come right down our back, both legs flat and bent. One foot's gonna cross over. Same hand is gonna come through that gap, other hand's gonna come around. You can either grab the top part of your knee or your hamstrings, completely up to you. When you get there, you're gonna push this knee out and pull the other knee in towards your chest. Should feel a stretch straight down the side. You may feel a little bit down where that sciatic nerve runs through. That's perfectly normal. If you want a little bit deeper of a stretch, come up with your head. Okay, just changing that angle a little bit. We're gonna hang out here. Nice deep breaths. Slowly bring that leg back to the floor. Unwind. Switch legs. One side's most likely going to be tighter than the other. That's normal. Nice deep breaths here. Few more seconds. Slowly let that foot down, unwind, and then come up. So if you have a lacrosse ball or any type of ball, this next part is going to be for you. If you do not have a lacrosse ball, baseball, tennis ball, whatever, you're just going to do what we just did again for each side. Okay? If you do have the ball, you're going to place that ball on the floor. Right on the side of your hip here, where you felt that last stretch, is where you're going to put the ball. You're just going to come right up onto the side, put it right in the side of your hip. If you feel pain or a pinch, you're most likely in the same or the right spot, because it will be putting a little bit of compression on the nerve just for the area that it's in. Okay? You can stay here, or you can bring this leg up and do it as well. If you want a deeper stretch than that, come up onto your hands. So putting a little bit more weight on that area. Roll around. Feel where it hurts. If it hurts, most likely on it. I wish I could say this one gets better with time, but it doesn't. It just always hurts. This one's where that point of discomfort kind of gets a little shady. 30 seconds again. Whenever you're ready, bring that foot back down. Switch sides. Same thing right on the side of the hip. Lie down on it. Find that spot where you feel that pinch. Stay here if you need to, or bring that leg up. Completely up to you, your pain tolerance, how it feels, everything like that. Make sure you're breathing, especially during the ones that hurt a little bit more. People tend to stop breathing and their face becomes the same color as this poster behind me. We definitely don't want that. We want those nice deep breaths so you can actually feel yourself sinking into that tissue a little bit as you exhale. A few more seconds. And unwind. Alright, that's the big one for the lacrosse ball. So we can throw that to the side. Next one, we're going to do a modified scorpion. Get into the psoas a little bit, everything on the front side of the body. So, rotate this. We're going to come down, lie on our stomachs in a T. Arms straight out to the side, okay? From there, rotate that back foot up towards your hand. And you're going to let front side of your hand sink. Feel the stretch right through your core. Just let your head relax. You may feel it through your hip. You may feel it through the front side of your shoulder. And breathe. A few more seconds here. Slowly roll back to the start. Switch sides. This side's not as flexible. Feel a pinch in your core down towards your hip. Your psoas. That gets tight, you will experience lower back pain. This one's a good one for that. Or taking a kettlebell or a dumbbell, setting it on that area or lying on it. Doesn't feel the best, but it feels great afterwards. As is most of this. A few more seconds. Slowly unwind. We're going to bring our hands to the front, and we're just going to come up into child's pose. Okay? Sinking into this position. Few deep breaths. We're going to take 5 big breaths here. And relax. So the next one here, we're going to take our strap and we're actually going to stretch out that tricep, okay? So I'm just going to do it from a kneeling position so you guys can see. By all means, do it from a standing position if you want to. So you're going to take your strap, you're going to hook it on your hand however you like to. You're going to bring it behind you. You're going to grab the strap, and you're going to pull that tricep and arm back, okay? If you can, grab your hands, do that instead. Completely up to you. Just hang out here. Feel a nice pull around the inside of the shoulder. Right through the tricep. You can try to rotate out a little bit, play around with that range. Few more seconds here. Let go of that strap. Slowly come out. Shake it out. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Once again, coming around. Grab your strap or your hands, whichever one you're able to do, and hang out here. Keeping those shoulder blades sunk down. Feel a nice stretch right through the tricep, top part of the shoulder. A few more seconds here. And relax. So we'll toss that to the side. We're going to do a little check-in with those things we started at the beginning before we do our last deep squat here. So first one, just feet right underneath your hips. Push your hips back, sink towards the floor. See if you feel that stretch in your calves. Hopefully at this point you don't. If you do, we're going to go back to that piriformis stuff. Go through there. The piriformis scrub with a lacrosse ball is very helpful for that area. We're going to come back up, and then we're going to retest our shoulders here. See if you can get your hands any closer. Look in the mirror if you have to. Check one side. Check the other. You can take your lacrosse ball and scrub that tricep as well. So get it right through this area. Go from there. So hopefully that gets you a little bit deeper into that spot. We're going to do one last thing here. So we're going to sit in that nice deep squat position for around 2 minutes or so. Completely up to you if you want to do this part. Thank you guys for joining. Like I said, these are definitely a way to keep fit during this time. They are free for you guys. There is more of a base schedule put out now, so we have a little bit more consistency through. We are 30 seconds in. Nice and low here. After the 2 minutes is up, if you want to hang in this position for 5 or 10 minutes, by all means do so. Spend about 10 minutes here every morning as part of my morning mobility routines. Coming up on the halfway mark. So this is usually about the point where people start feeling their hips and their low back a little bit. Perfectly normal. It will stretch and feel like a pinch for the first little bit, especially if this is the first time you're doing it for this long. Just take deep breaths. It will subside. Especially if you go for that 5-10 minute mark, there is going to be a point of discomfort, especially in your ankles, your hips, your low back, all those main points that may not be used to sitting in this position. Especially if you're used to just sitting in a chair all the time, those tissues are going to get bound up quite a bit. This is a nice release for it all. 30 seconds left. If you like the workout, like the video, share it, comment, use the hashtags in the description. 15 seconds. And that's it. Slowly come up, shake it out. Thank you guys for joining the video. We are here every day at noon, 8 and 11 for some special stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys.